You know, despite the fact that it's actually getting pretty hot these days, but in addition to that, I also managed able to change my shoes recently today. Because of that, I am wearing some iconic shoes based off from Sonic Adventure 2, which appears to be the soap shoes. So, hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice, and I am from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as you probably expected at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Sonic Frontiers for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, PC Steam, and finally the Nintendo Switch. So, last time we've essentially managed able to fully 100% everything in terms of the first island in the game, which appears to be Buddy Forms of Kronos Island. Now, we haven't exactly got all of the memory tokens in terms of the forms of Kronos Island, but exponentially speaking though, we actually did that pretty well. In addition to that, we also managed able to beat the forms of the first Titan in the game, known as Giganto. In addition to that, we also managed able to obtain the 7th and the final Chaos Emerald during the course of Kronos Island, potentially speaking. So yeah, we actually did quite a lot of stuff in the last video. So either way though, today for this video is about the fact that we're about to be starting to explore through the second island in this game. That's what appears to be known as Iris Island. I think it's what it says anyway. And kind of think about it, this particular island does remind me of the forms of Standard Kingdom from the likes of Super Mario Odyssey because of all that familiar aesthetics and all that stuff. And also this place does remind me of a similar vibe as in Grotto Desert from the likes of not only The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but also with Tears of the Kingdom as well. Except the fact that, well, potentially speaking, as I said this before, this game is basically an open zone instead of open world. Well, potentially speaking though, until whenever we get to the later islands in the game, basically this is what about the fact that the game will get a lot longer than the forms of how it does it from most Sonic games in the past. To be more specifically, since Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, and most notably Sonic Forces, because, well, it seems very obvious about the fact that at the very least, we don't have to worry about, you know, some very short segments worth noting for. But either way though, that might be something else entirely. So, but either way though, because chances are though, it's just a way of how the fact that I was, you know, pretty excited able to see what's new in store for us, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, potentially speaking, as you can definitely tell right from the start though, is that yes, I did somehow manage able to download that particular first free DLC update, which not only brings us the forms of some extra modes, assuming of course that you need to able to beat the game first for doing so, but also it allows me to able to actually activate a jukebox feature, which as you can tell, I've managed to pick up the first music note item, which if you do manage to able to find one of those music notes, basically though you would unlock certain music based off on the Sonic Adventures past, or to be more specifically, the past adventures. Specifically, Dusty Desert based off from Sonic 06. Because, get it? Because we ended up in a desert environment world, which I guess that makes sense just because of all that desert vibes to it. Or of course, you can potentially try to able to customize the actual playlist if you wanted to. Like, if you want able to set those tracks in loop or shuffle, which either way though, it's pretty similar to the forms of how it does in Sonic Generations, so either way.
Knuckles, what are you doing here? Never mind, I'll get you out. Hang on.
Well, Knucklehead, it looks like we've met again, except this time around though you've got trapped inside in this particular familiar cage, as we've already rescued Amy from earlier ago, in Kronos Island at the very least. So, yeah, basically we still need to able to collect more of those memory tokens as you can tell, except this time we need to collect those, I would say Badge of Honor, kind of tokens this time around though, because I know for a fact that for Amy Rose that obviously we do keep on collecting those heart-shaped memory tokens representing love. So as a result, I think something tells me with Knuckles' memory tokens is all about courage or anything else like that. So, but either way though, we're able to investigate that until whenever we decide able to do the usual trick, for, you know, doing all kinds of stuff here and there. So, anyway, so a few things we want to explain for this point today, and that is that today's day is, of course, the 9th of June today, in this case in 2023 today. Naturally speaking, originally I was trying to able to mention something more related to the forms of the Summer Game Fest that had already existence during the forms event yesterday, but I suppose I'll let both Mario and Luigi will both mention more about it until tomorrow for the sake of Mario Super Sluggers Let's Play basically, so I'll let them to most able to actually just to mention more details onto those as soon as they possibly can. So, but for the time being, about the fact no matter what though, that I'm pretty sure about the fact that we're actually getting quite close to the halfway point in terms of the forms of June already. Well, mind you, we're still on the 9th day so far, during the forms within the 6th month of the year so far. So relatively speaking though, that time itself just went fast, as you probably expect. Like, you know, gotta go fast kind of syndrome. So, but either way, there are some tons of things I would like to mention though. Specifically, recently, in addition about the fact that, yeah, I did manage able to give, you know, My Little Pony Make Your Mark series a second chance, as what Pac-Man has already mentioned about, since in yesterday's video of Pac-Man World Repack, that basically, in addition to able to actually get ourselves Bridlewood stock as the forms of one of those special episodes in Chapter 4, I did not expect there's actually more episodes to it, like something more related to the forms of Misty's arc or anything else like that. So, but for what I've managed to be able to recently watch the rest of the forms of Chapter 4, I actually quite enjoy it this time around. I mean, sure, that the animation is pretty much exactly the same as the forms of how it does it on not only in Chapter 1, but also with Chapter 2 and 3, but I will admit though right away, the plot significance is actually going to get a lot more interesting this time around because, well, potentially speaking, I just love the fact that, well, there's going to be a massive plot twist during the forms of not only for Misty herself, but also with the forms of Opaline as well. Well, potentially speaking that Opaline is obviously up to no good and stuff like that. I mean, relatively speaking, I'm probably not going to mention too much any spoiler details on this point, because mind you about the fact that Chapter 4 is the most recent chapter at this point in time, for the sake of the forms of My Little Pony Make Your Mark. And as a result, that I'm very still glad able to give that series another chance, especially notable with the stupid absence of that particular gap with the actual Netflix schedule department. So, which, seriously, that's the only drawback I have with this sometimes, especially notable it tends to make things, you know, a lot drag on and all that stuff, which I think I've already on about that since in about a couple of months ago, potentially speaking, so. But I digress. So, as a result of that kind of stuff though, the next thing I would like to say, that in terms of the forms of something related to Netflix, that's, well, we only just got about roughly about a month left, roughly speaking, for able to actually see Sonic Prime Season 2. So that's the next thing I was really hyped about, especially noticeable about the fact that I've been dying to able to actually just to get a chance to able to see what happened next after the events of the 8th episode has ended during the films within the first season of Sonic Prime. So even then, I'm still very excited about this, as you probably expect at this point, so. Anywho though, so the next thing I want to mention is about the fact that I think, presumably, until specifically on the Wednesday the 14th of June, presumably so, that the next tour of Mario Kart Tour will be on its way, and for what I've noticed about the fact that not only they decided able to bring not only one, not two, but three returning retro tracks returning, from not only one of them from Mario Kart Super Circuit, but also one in Mario Kart Double Dash, and, potentially speaking, Mario Kart 64 as well, which there are, first of all, N64 Mario Raceway, because, well, after the events of, we've already got Royal Raceway, as well as Luigi Raceway, so we now actually have ourselves Mario Raceway at some point on the next tour, and because of that though, we somehow managed to get ourselves the entire Raceway tracks trilogy-wise, in terms of the forms of, you know, Mario Kart Tour, you know, bringing back those specific retro tracks as far as this is concerned. So, That seems interesting, all things considered. Even though that the last time they actually brought back Mario Raceway was back in the forms of in Mario Kart Wii. Originally, that was on the forms of the Shell Cup. So, yeah, pretty nice able to see Mario Raceway returning, except this time around though with modern visuals and all that stuff. So either way, I'm very curious to able to actually see what the actual track itself looks like this time around though, but we shall see what happens in due time. So, but either way, and yeah, I'll discuss more now in a moment, because either way, we actually got enough memory tokens, so just in case we can able to free Knuckles the Echidna. So as a result, I wonder what he's doing here exactly.
Some rescue. I'm still half ghost.
I'm working on it, okay?
What's going on with you?
Just a little side effect of the island's weird energy. What are you doing so far from home?
I was investigating some strange ruins when I was transported here, then got trapped.
Never a dull moment with you.
Just bring me up to speed.
Listen, help me find the Chaos Emerald so I can beat up some big robots. You'll be free and back to guarding the Master Emerald in no time.
Sounds like a plan.
So now we've freed Knuckles, so that also means we've managed able to learn the next ability, which is known as the Side Loop Kick. So as a result, that will come in handy, especially noticeable if you try to take on the later Guardians as far as this is concerned. So now we need to be able to start collecting some more Vault Keys by going through several other like cyberspace transporters and stuff like that. So either way though, the next track they did reveal to able to make its return, that's what appears to be Luigi Circuit, based off from Mario Kart Super Circuit, which as a result, that you know about the fact that we're still currently on to the Princess Tour so far, during the course of any forms that we've already got Peach Circuit. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, that it's pretty nice to be able to see Luigi Circuit is going to make its grand return after the events of Mario Kart DS, because that was the last time we actually did see Luigi Circuit in Mario Kart Super Circuit in action. So because of that though, I'm pretty sure it will function pretty much exactly the same as the forms of how it does it on the previous two versions. That it will still rain, of course. In addition to that, it also contains puddles to able to avoid and all that stuff, you know, similar to the forms of how it does it on Neo Bowser City, or Koopa City to be more specifically. So that'll be quite interesting, all things considered. So either way though, let's just go ahead and take on the next Guardian right here. So hopefully we can potentially try to able to get ourselves the Portal Gear, so that way we can able to actually access to one of those cyberspace levels, any forms of in the second island, any forms of in Sonic Frontier so far. So, but either way, that's as far as I can usually say about this for the most part. And finally, perhaps even most notably out of them all though, is that ever since that we've already had Waluigi Stadium back in the forms of in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, DLC Wave 4, being the forms of the Boomerang Cup and stuff like that. Well, I am not too surprised about the fact that apparently that Mario Kart Tour is also getting Waluigi Stadium during the forms of the upcoming tour. So because of that though, and as I said before, I'm not too surprised about able to actually bring that track back onto Mario Kart Tour. So as a result, just to make the actual visuals a lot of a downgrade compared to the forms of how it does it on the Mario Kart 8 version in my opinion. So again, I usually becomes biased when it comes to likely prefer, you know, the awesome visual style compared to the forms of how it does it for this simplistic, like, clay-like visual standpoint, but that's just me. So, I'm not exactly sure what content still brings us into for the upcoming tour anyway, but I think I'll let both Mario and Luigi were able to also mention more about it until whenever they go back onto Mario Super Sluggers until tomorrow. So, yeah, let's make for the best, huh? But I digress. So, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for that. In terms of the forms of the Mario Kart Tour stuff, as far as this is concerned, even though that I'm still pretty much impatient, able to know when is Wave 5 is going to be releasing, because I know for a fact that we're now on summer at this point, and again, we'll discuss more details about that in the future. So, but either way, something's worth noting for is about the fact that recently, during the course of the filming marketing, or potentially speaking with the forms of the upcoming series called Knuckles the series, is going to be on Paramount Plus. Apparently, for what I've heard anyway, that basically the actual filming has come to an end. So as a result, it might actually get ourselves the release date, and it's going to be releasing at some point in fall this year. It could be either on September, or October, or November, depending on the forms of the actual time zone. So because of this though, I'm still very curious to know what the actual series is going to be like, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, it's been like, you know, a whole year since, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie, has just came out on the big screen. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, maybe they'll try to able to bring in a trailer for it. Well, we're not exactly 100% about that just yet though, but either way though, time will tell, especially noticeable about the fact that it's a bit too early to say this right now, especially because, well, obviously I'm just super excited to see how that's going to turn out, so... Anyway, now we've got ourselves the portal gear right now, so now we can able to actually activate one of those cyberspace segments for this entire island, so... Yeah, relatively speaking, no, there's not much right to harm about when it comes to the forms of today's subjects for the sake of time anyway, so...
Looks like he was planning a full invasion. So where is he?
Well, mind you, Sonic, is about the fact that, according to the forms of the cutscene logic, basically though, it's about the fact that Eggman is still basically trapped inside in the cyberspace at the moment, so... But potentially speaking though, about the fact that I don't think we can able to bump into him anytime soon, during the forms of the real world, presumably anyway. So, anyway though, so I suppose I should probably also mention about this as well, I guess, is about the fact that, well, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty certain about the fact that I, basically almost concerned about the fact that, potentially speaking, that, if I was trying to able to prepare to able to do a Let's Play of Kirby Tilt and Tumble at some point in the future, like, I'd have managed able to practice that game on my own time on my Nintendo Switch Game Boy library of stuff, but as a result of that kind of stuff though, I seriously need a lot of practice for that game before I tackle for that game at some point, maybe this year, or potentially next year if possibilities were, you know, endless as far as this is concerned, but either way though, I suppose time will tell, especially noticeable about the fact that we're still on June obviously, so but either way, and yeah, that's as far as I can usually think about it, so anyway, so let's dive right into the first cyberspace segment in the second island in the game, and for those of you probably wondering what the level layout is actually heavily borrowed from, and that's what appears to be based off from not only the Green Hill aesthetic, as you probably expect, but also about the fact that the level layout is actually based off from Sonic Generations, specifically Modern Sonic in Green Hill Zone, basically, in Act 2. Because obviously with that familiar layout and all that stuff, which, as a result, like I said this before, there are a lot of times that we will come across into certain familiar level layouts, as you probably can tell for that point. Especially noticeable about the fact that, except the fact that, as I mentioned this before, the boost system in this game has actually got a lot nerfed. Then he forms of how it does it in both Sonic Unleashed, Colors, Generations, and Sonic Forces, because obviously you're no longer invincible during that state. But then again, I've already pointed things out since in the past few episodes ago, for the likes of the forms of Sonic Frontiers as a result. So, anyway, and I believe there's another topic I would like to mention, is that do you guys even know about the fact that, as far as what Pac-Man has already mentioned about, or perhaps even I mentioned about this already, that yes, the US version of the Super Mario Bros. Movie did indeed will get ourselves a DVD and Blu-ray release at some point on the 13th of June. And then, as far as what I've heard, that the Australian version of that particular film is also getting its DVD and Blu-ray release for the Australian versions of the, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And as far as I'm aware, it's going to be releasing at some point on the 3rd of July or the 5th of July. I can't really tell exactly. Because unfortunately, though, there's no sign of the Forms of the UK's release date just yet for the actual DVD and Blu-ray release, which I was like, oh, come on! Can you at least give us the UK's release of that particular DVD and Blu-ray release, for goodness sake? Because I was expecting to be able to actually just rewatch that particular film time and time again if that particular film finally comes out on physical form. Like, you know, with DVD and Blu-ray and stuff like that. So, because I was potentially so close to able to actually predict it might actually expect it to come and during at some point. It will be definitely coming in during forms of this summer season, but it's hard to tell with the forms of the UK's release during that time, especially notable about the fact that currently right now, that is actually kind of feels a bit bare bones to talk about, even though it's kind of unfortunate about the fact that with Sonic Origins Plus, that as far as what Pac-Man has already mentioned about, ever since in yesterday's Pac-Man World Repack videos, that potentially speaking that it's a shame about the fact that the actual physical copies is about to get ripped off thanks to the forms of that particular download code requirement for the most of the package, which I know for a fact that unlike Sonic Mania Plus, that you get every single things all in one with the disc itself, along with the game card for the Switch version anyway. So at the very least, that's pretty worth it for Sonic Mania Plus. Whilst, unfortunately though, for Sonic Origins Plus, for the physical format, well, it's no longer become worth it just because of all that scammed decision when it comes to the forms of that particular download code requirement for actually access to every single parts of DLC and stuff like that. So, yeah, it seems kind of stupid. But let's just hope about the fact that it will not contain the actual expiry date for that particular download code. I'm hoping anyway. Well, at least I'm hoping so anyway though, just because unlike, you know, whenever you pre-order certain Sonic stuff in the past, like, for instance with Sonic Colors Ultimate and as well as the forms of Sonic Forces, and also with Sonic Frontiers as well, that basically every time whenever you manage to pre-order the game and get something like an extra bonus or something like that, and then basically it shows us the actual expire date before you're able to actually start able to redeem your code and stuff like that. So potentially speaking now, I'm just really hoping that that particular DLC download code does not contain the actual expire date, because if it does, we are seriously screwed. Especially noticeable about the fact that, wow, gee, no wonder why it just feels a bit mixed bag. In regards to the forms of Sonic Origins as a compilation as a game itself. Although, don't get me wrong, I still had an enjoyable time, you know, playing Sonic Origins, but it's just a shame about the fact that much like, you know, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, that the entire compilation itself, it just feels a bit mixed bag as a result, so. But you know, you get the idea about that particular point right there, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, it's kind of hard to say for this point, honestly, so. But I digress. So, I should also mention about this as well, I guess, is about the fact that, well, yeah, you need to be able to collect all these Chaos Emeralds again, because as a result, then we need to take on the next Titan, so. Yeah, that you pretty much expect at that point, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, just like the forms of the Dragon Balls and all that stuff, basically those Chaos Emeralds will scattered into different spots or different locations, so. Yeah, that's basically all there is to it, so. And there we go, first Chaos Emerald obtained.
While I cannot fully control it, I can awaken its rage against you.
find someplace safe.
And sure enough, we were able to bump into yet another Titan, except this time he looks a lot more creepy looking. And especially noticeable about the fact that I'll save that particular conversation once we get into the actual Titan battle itself, because at the moment we're getting chased by the forms of that particular Titan. So as a result, we do need to be able to avoid a lot of those missiles and all that stuff, because assumingly if you manage able to die, you have to restart this entire process again. So just to ensure about the fact that you don't want to get hit quite a number of times basically. So but either way, so we were able to actually just to deal with that particular segment no problem, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, as to be expected, as you probably already saw that coming, that's basically about the fact that we need to do a lot of quick steps here and there, which I'm still very surprised about the fact that certain movesets do return from the past few Sonic games, but either way, we somehow get away.
You cannot run forever. Final warning. Leave.
That was a warning?
By the way, I just love the fact that every time whenever you wear something completely different, that certain cutscenes do manage able to affect the actual visual identity, depending on what costumes you're wearing, like the actual soap shoes from Sonic Adventure 2. Now, if you're probably wondering, how come do I get the defaults of that particular, the Sonic Adventure 2 shoes, specifically the soap shoes? Well, for those of you probably wondering about the fact that it used to be back in Evolve's event last year in 2022, that basically there was actually a newsletter that if you do manage able to sign in that particular newsletter, if you really want able to actually access the forms of those Sonic Adventure 2 soap shoes for a free DLC downloadable content, that basically though, if you managed able to sign in your account, then basically if you waited for about a few days or so, and potentially you can get that particular DLC. Well, as you can tell about the fact that I've pretty much got these soap shoes on the PlayStation 4 version, as you can tell, because obviously that's the version of the game we're currently playing on, because I was originally trying to able to get ourselves the Switch version and the Xbox One versions of that particular DLC, but I tested it out, but something tells me I only have to choose one, especially noticeable about the fact that it might feel a bit complicated when if you're trying to able to do like multiple things at once, especially noticeable about the fact that you have to choose wisely, so oh well, no big deal though, but I'm hoping about the fact that they may be trying to able to add that particular soap shoes as a free DLC eventually, for the likes of the forms of in not only the Microsoft Store, but also with the forms of the Nintendo eShop applications as well, so but either way, and for those of you probably wondering what's going on the screen right now, because at certain points throughout the game, basically we come across into Starfall, and basically these are essentially like the equivalent to the Blood Moon sequence from the likes of it, not only The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but also with the forms of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom as well. Although except the fact that unlike in those two games in particular, that something nasty is about to happen, whilst in here though, it's like a good effect. Like basically as you can see, that we keep on collecting those Starbit-like collectibles, and basically what you can use them for is that as you can see on the center portion of the screen, we somehow activate the slot machine. That is when you're able to actually realize that we're also going to be collecting more of those purple coins, as you can tell. That is essentially the best way to able to actually find more of those purple coins, assuming of course if you want able to go back onto Big's fishing game, assuming of course if you really want able to max out your, not only your level cap, but also with the forms of trying to able to actually access to even more portal gears, if you're liking. So because of this though, relatively speaking though, I think that was essentially it's like, well, it's nice to able to actually have ourselves the slot machines for the first time around though, but quite frequently they bump into that quite a number of times, especially noticeable if you're trying to able to keep on exploring through certain spots for certain islands as far as this is concerned. But either way though, sometimes that the actual visual effect might start able to interrupt your progress if you really want to continue proceedings for certain story progression, so... But you know, you get the idea for that particular solution in mind, so... But there we go, we've somehow managed to find Knuckles again, just to see what he's up to.
Father was right about you. You're reckless and destructive.
I have no idea what your deal is, but if we could just talk...
No, no discourse, no bartering, only elimination.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Time out!
Time out? She attacked you!
Yeah, it's kind of her thing, but she's trying to protect something, or someone. I'm willing to help, but first I need to know what's going on.
No, you don't know what you're talking about.
You're too trusting, Sonic.
No, I'm not. Trust me.
Now, as far as I would like to also mention about something in regards to that apparently, that Sonic Forces Speed Battle, out of nowhere, they're receiving the next character coming up. And that, as it turns out, is about the fact that we're about to be getting Super Silver. So as a result, after the events of Super Sonic and Super Shadow, and especially noticeable with movie Super Sonic as well, that we're finally going to be getting ourselves Super Silver since Sonic 06. And as a result, I was incredibly hyped about it. Now I'm hoping it will come on Sonic Dash eventually, because presumably that I've basically almost wrapped things up everything for the likes of Sonic Dash at the moment, to be more specifically with all that construction bits here and there. So I'm pretty hyped about the forms of how the fact that Super Silver is finally coming, so either way. Now, according to the forms of some other stuff I would also like to mention about, is that apparently there's going to be some interesting updates during the forms of the Nintendo Directs things and stuff like that, because obviously about the fact that we could expect that we were able to actually see some more announcements eventually at some time, especially noticeable about the fact that after all, as I mentioned this before, that the second half of the year is actually going to get pretty bare bones so far, but at least hopefully we're able to actually see some more stuff potentially, especially noticeable about the fact that hopefully we're able to actually bring out some more details about the forms of the most recent games has been recently announced during the forms of in the Summer Game Fest, or potentially speaking something else to that towards that. So, but again, I do apologize if my commentary is a bit slightly iffy at this point sometimes. That's just because about the fact that at this point in time that the weather temperature is extremely hot at this point today. So hopefully once I finish up with this recording session in mind, I will able to open my window for a bit just to get the fresh air in. So anyway, so now we've actually got enough memory tokens to, you know, chat with Knuckles again.
Can you see that seal in the center of the pond? If we could pull it out, we could drain the water. The problem is, I'm still ghost-like, and you're useless underwater.
Wow, thanks for the concern. Anyway, if I can jostle the device holding the chain, maybe I can get it to reel it in?
Worth a shot. Just don't slip and fall. I can't haul you out.
Okay, so what we're supposed to do on this part right there is that we need to drain the water in order to progress. Because as you can tell, that this particular missile thing just somehow spawns in on itself, and it is your job to able to actually use the side loop and then once you're done with the side loop technique, and basically you can have the ability to carry that particular missile thing, and you have to hurry this up because otherwise they have to rely on the time limit. And then once you insert that particular missile onto the cannon, basically we now need to take control of the cannon itself and then just try to able to fire that particular target. So once you've done so, then it should be a total piece of cake. Especially noticeable about the fact that I've seemed to manage to able to did this no problem. So either way, problem solved.
Wait, was draining the Oasis the best idea?
Well, hey, you've revealed the way forward. That's what's important.
Says you. You can't feel this heat. Oh well. Race you to the next emerald.
Now, like I mentioned this before, about the fact that maybe potentially during at some point in either this month or next month in particular, for July, that there might be a possibility of the forms of the Nintendo Direct at some form or another. But it's kind of hard to tell at the moment, just because it's all about speculation and all that stuff. Well, what I found is a little bit interesting, especially noticeable about the fact that it's recently addressed, about the fact, no matter what though, that recently that Nintendo UK website has recently updated something relates to Metroid Prime 4, which, yeah, about time to able to actually finally get that particular game updated and stuff like that. Well, mind you, it still says about the fact that the game is still basically in development, so as a result of that kind of stuff though, that's pretty much unexpected at that point. And on top of all that stuff though, so strangest of them all though, is that it's actually been addressed during the forms of the actual interest catalog. So because of that though, which it's hard to explain really, because it's been a very, very, very long time since we've last heard about every single aspect in terms of Metroid Prime 4, which as a result, I'm still hyped about that game still, since when it first announced back in 2017, which I can't even believe it's been almost roughly 6 years or so. And speaking of which though, is about the fact that maybe potentially, I'm also able to mention something relates to the forms of one of those celebrations when it comes to the forms of the Nintendo E3 2018's 5th anniversary coming up, which I think is going to be on the 12th of June, which I'll discuss more details about that, alongside with the forms of the 10th anniversary of the forms of the E3 2013 Nintendo Digital event presentation, which still, I'll address that at some point whenever I go and continue playing this. So, assuming of course if I was able to be busy, just able to explore vast majority of places like this. So, but I digress. Although, potentially speaking though, let me go ahead and able to actually activate the next cyberspace level or whatnot, because obviously about the fact that, well, I think we're most able to actually just to realize about something about the fact that I think we've almost at the halfway point in terms of the forms of that particular island itself. Although potentially speaking though, that will save that conversation until for later. So, although then again, I would have liked able to mention something else for that matter though, but then again though, I'll mention more about other details at some point until on Monday. Especially noticeable about the fact that, well, Mario and Luigi will also mention more details about the forms of, you know, Summer Game Fest shenanigans. So, along with the forms of other presentation announcements here and there as well. Or potentially speaking that we'll let Pac-Man will able to mention about the forms of tons of announcements based off from not only from Capcom Showcase, but also with the forms of Ubisoft Forward presentation as well. So, yeah, my hypes is actually expected to be a lot more high expectations, so, which I think we've already on about that for a couple of weeks ago or something, so here we are back onto the forms of Sky Century, environment again, except now the level layout is actually based off from Sonic Unleashed, except this time it's actually based off from, I wouldn't say it's actually based off of one of those shorter levels from Sonic Unleashed and Chunon level. So in some cases though, yeah, the Dragon Road level. So because of that though, yeah, that's as far as I can usually just try to able to say about this for the sake of time. So, and yeah, remember I mentioned this before about the fact that I do apologize about the fact that my commentary feels a bit off at this point today. That's just because, once again, about the fact that, similar to Pac-Man, that for whatever reason I just got my croaky throat at the moment. So, hopefully I'll make myself better during that time. Especially noticeable about the fact that at this point in time, for both me and Pac-Man, we are essentially going to have to able to drink lots of juice. Especially noticeable about the fact that we need to get ourselves, you know, hydrated for the likes of the forms of the upcoming, you know, heat wave, weather conditions and all that stuff, which, yeah, it's going to be unbelievable. Especially noticeable about the fact that, well, let's just hope about the fact that it's nowhere near as, like, unbelievably, hot compared to the forms of how it does it from last year, because, my god, last year's weather condition, when it comes to the heat wave, is astonishing. So, because of that, though, well, we'll just have to wait and find out. So, oh yeah, I could also mention about this as well, I guess, is that there's going to be a presentation about the forms of the film Anarchal Festival is about to be coming up, which as a result, for I've heard that we're able to actually see some more information about the forms of Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, and on top of that, there's going to be a new DreamWorks movie is going to be announced during the forms of that particular film festival season. So because of this though, yeah, it might feel a bit interesting, all things considered. So, yeah, I'm really excited about those specific stuff in mind. So, anyway, so, yeah. And I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this as well is that for whatever reason, during the course of in South Korea, that basically the official Pokemon tournament has officially been cancelled in South Korea. This is most likely due to the forms of the protests by finalists. So because of that though, gee, there's a lot of protests every now and then, especially noticeable with the forms of football games in mind. So, or soccer games to be more specific. So, and speaking of which, when it comes to the forms of certain Mario Kart tracks, that I can't believe about the fact that in almost every single track is almost returning. Like, I know for a fact that for Super Mario Kart tracks, which there are Bowser Castle 1, Bowser Castle 2, Koopa Beach 1, Mario Circuit 4, and finally Ghost Valley 3 are the only ones left when it comes to the forms of returning tracks, when it comes to the future Mario Kart games, because as far as I'm aware, well, for Super Mario Kart, it only has 5 tracks to go, and as far as Mario Kart 64 is concerned, it's basically unchanged. Like, we still got Wario Stadium, and that's about it, basically. So we have no idea when does Wario Stadium for Mario Kart 64 will make its return. Well, I think I should probably let that particular point for that discussion that'll be saved up until the later time. Because as far as I'm aware, I think that's as far as I can say about this for the most part. Although, I was able to actually just try to mention about that particular stuff and during that some form or another today. But it's just about the fact the matter is though, I'm just, well, feel a little bit annoyed about the forms of my croaky throat at the moment. I will have to be quite frank. And I suppose the last thing I want to mention though is that recently Disney has recently begun the next season in terms of the forms of Disney Speed Storm, and somehow they managed to able to add it in Steamboat Mickey alongside with the forms of Steamboat Pete as well. So potentially speaking though, that's just the way of how I usually can able to actually say about this for the most part, folks. I mean, yeah, that's as far as I can say about for this point, folks. I mean, I would have liked able to mention something else for that matter, but then again though, I'll save that particular more conversations during at some point in the next couple of days, roughly, so. And plus, because my phone's battery life is almost dying, so I definitely need to charge that up once I finish this particular recording, so hopefully that might be seems the case. Oh, there's also the final thing I want to mention for this point, guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting our channel for the Maxi Toys department, because we've recently now have reached 700 subscribers, which I can thank you guys for able to actually support our channel for this point, guys. I really am. Especially noticeable about the fact that maybe the next goal should be 800. So, God knows that might happen. But potentially speaking, maybe possibly by the forms of the second half of the year. Or perhaps even maybe 2024 or 2025 or anything else like that. But then again, time will tell. Especially noticeable, I'm just, you know, very happy, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, potentially speaking, I'm just felt so accomplished for, you know, reaching 700 subscribers recently. So because of that, though, yeah, better late than never, I suppose. Especially noticeable because, well, we've been busy playing for the forms of other, like, stuff, as you probably expect at this point. So, but, yeah. But, I was expecting something. I was originally able to try to go after the other 2 Chaos Emeralds, but unfortunately, though, we've almost run out of time for this particular recording session. But, maybe I will try to able to get those Chaos Emeralds in the next video, because, well, relatively speaking, sometimes, though, about the fact that in this island's case, sometimes there's going to be a lot of emphasis on maze-like segments, which, as a result of that kind of stuff, though, you need to able to know about the forms of the depths of the forms of this entire island itself like this. So, but it's an interesting island, don't get me wrong, but it's just about the fact that sometimes it can be felt a bit dragged on at points when it comes to, like, navigating certain segments with all that cliff sides and all that stuff, though. But either way, though, that might be saying something. So now I'm curious to know of what's happening next, in terms of after the events of Chapter 4 has been ended, during the course of the My Little Pony Make Your Mark series, because after all, again, I'm not going to spoil things too much about it. One thing I did not expect, not only does it bring 1, not 2, not 3, I think I would say 4 songs so far in Chapter 4, which is pretty insane if you ask me. Especially noticeable about the fact that in one of those episodes in particular, that it does have a bit of a rehashed plot line here and there, but at least this time around, though, is actually in the 20-minute mark, as opposed to the forms of roughly 5 minutes for Tale. So, yeah, unfortunately, though, there's no way we can able to actually get that Chaos Emerald from over there, alongside with the yellow one as well, which, as far as I predicted that earlier, because as a result, due to the forms of the time length and all that stuff, so yeah, it's kind of sucks that we have to end this way. So with that said, we got the ending itself at this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic Frontiers, is that we can potentially try to able to grab some more Chaos Emeralds and still try to able to explore through Iris Island, and potentially speaking, we can able to do some more stuff here and there, essentially. So I'll see you guys until on Monday. Later, fellas.